Oh, do you know what it's like? It's like It's a Wonderful Life when he worked in the sweet shop.
What? He worked in the sweet shop?
When he was a kid, he was giving ice creams and sweets.
That's not a sweet shop.
But I thought they sold sweets too.
That was the drugstore.
What's the worst that can happen? Well, we would hate it. That's probably the worst that could happen, but let's hope.
And I'm just thinking a drugstore in this country would have a completely different connotation.
Yeah, it would, yeah. Yeah, we don't call anything a drugstore.
No.
You, how lovely. This mini goes with the other three. It's like alchemy going on. I don't quite know how this is happening.
Yes,
Yeah.
just in case you were ever wondering about our intimate love messages to each other.
Oh, I'm interested now. This sounds fun.
Talking of neon, this is exciting because the next two colours are actually neon colours. Steady. Don't get carried away. You know what I'm like with the pink. I have to control myself.
Welcome, everybody, to the Bakery Bears video show. I nearly said radio show.
Oh, did you?
Because, of course, we do have an audio show as well.
We do.
And that's how we start our audio show. I don't know why I nearly did that.
Audio show.
I'll tell you what it is. It's because I'm excited.
You're excited?
Because I think, it can't be the first time ever that we've put an episode out on Valentine's Day, but I can't recall an episode going out on Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's if you celebrate, everybody.
Hey, now also, just remember that we're not celebrating love in the sense of love. We're celebrating love in the sense of knitting.
Yes.
Because we all love knitting, don't we?
Yes, because let's face it, Valentine's Day is just a commercial enterprise, isn't it?
Yeah, don't go buying anything.
You know, we understand that.
Just get your knitting out.
That a lot of people feel that, and we sort of feel that too. You know, if you love someone, tell them every day. You don't have to be dictated to, do you?
I told Kay this morning.
Yes, you did. You left me a little note in my book, which was really cute.
I went out for my run this morning and I just ripped a bit off we have a little thing up on the fridge, which is our meal planning board thingy. You know, it has paper on it, and I ripped a bit off the final page and I wrote a little note.
You did. You wrote a little note and put it in my book, because I read a few pages of my book with my breakfast every mornings.
And I put a heart on it and an arrow through the heart and put our initials.
It's very sweet. So, when we say love, it's love of knitting and love of crafting and just love of, anything that you're passionate about, really.
And I feel like I need to just add a slight bit of context to that note, because obviously the day we record this is not Valentine's Day.
Oh, it's not Valentine's Day today.
The point of my story was I tell Kay regularly.
Yes, just in case you were ever wondering about our intimate love messages to each other.
Oh, I'm interested now. This sounds fun. So yes, we return with a wonderful video show, and it's exciting. It's exciting for many reasons. The first reason is My Perfect Socks returns.
Yes, it does.
And why is it exciting? Because it's time to start knitting the heel.
The heel. For me, it might not be the heel for everybody, depending on how you've planned your socks. But for me, it's the heel. Yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose at the end of the day, when you do get to knitting your heel, you'll be looking at this instalment and, having a little watch. And Yeah. So it's very, very exciting.
Very exciting.
We can't wait, actually.
I've had to knit a lot of heels just lately.
Yes.
I seem to have a day where I knit about 4 heels.
Yes.
Which was intense.
I know. Talk about experienced heel knitter.
Yes.
That is most certainly Kate.
Yes.
But the other reason why today is a really important and exciting show, it's because it's a pattern launch.
Pattern launch.
Woohoo! And if you love sweets, if you love a lovely cola cube,
sweeties,
or a pineapple chunk.
Yeah.
Were they called pineapple chunks?
Yes, I think they were. That's so weird that you say that, because I was typing that yesterday.
Yeah.
And I wrote cola cubes and pineapple chunks. Yeah. And then I thought, was it chunks or was it cubes?
Because you had pineapple chunks out of a tin, didn't you?
Yeah, but I also said chunks in my head for the sweets.
Yeah, and I said it because you put it on the pattern and I put the pattern on the website. So I said that.
Okay.
I don't know what
Maybe
I would
I've
have
got
said.
it wrong. Maybe it was pineapple cubes as well as cola cubes.
I would suspect we'd be able to find out.
Pineapple cubes. Pineapple chunks.
I'll be honest, the pineapple cube chunk, whatever you want to call it, I didn't really like that one.
I did like that one, actually.
I was more of a colour cube boy.
I did like colour cubes as well.
Yeah.
Because they were chewy in the middle. And
Yeah,
pineapple chunks... You see, I said chunks again. I don't know if it was. Pineapple cubes weren't chewy in the middle, I don't think.
I don't recall.
Were they?
I don't recall. I don't think so.
I don't think they were.
But yes, Sweetie socks.
Yes.
Inspired by our childhood trips to the
Yes.
Sweetie shop. The shop I used to go into was called Baxter's, and you would go in
I don't
and
know what mine was called.
up on the side there was all the I think they were plastic, but maybe they had some glass ones.
Let's hope they were glass jars back then. They would have
think
been
they
glass
probably
jars
were.
then.
Yeah, but I just remember them
They're
having a
probably
sticker.
plastic now,
They are
sadly.
definitely. They are definitely.
They should be glass.
Although I have seen glass ones in that one in, is it Hawes, where we got the...
That was years ago.
Yeah, I know. So maybe they'd
So they might. That was
maybe they're in
donkeys years
plastic
ago.
now. Didn't we see that on a TV programme? Didn't someone go in
Yeah,
there?
I think so.
Michael didn't go in there, did he?
I don't think he did, no.
Oh, that would be amazing wouldn't it, if he went in there.
There's a new Michael Portillo series coming, everybody. Great excitement. I believe it's the 10th of March on BBC. Oh, great excitement.
Even more excitement is Kay's sock launch.
Yes, sorry, got
Yes.
distracted there.
The Sweetie socks are available to buy right now.
They are.
You've seen them a little bit
Yeah.
over the last few episodes.
Yeah.
Like I said, inspired by glass up on the side, full of the lovely sweets
Yeah.
in the lovely wrappers.
Yes.
Stitch pattern looks just like it.
It does.
It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's really sweet.
And Kay will be showing those socks again later on in the show to officially
I
launch
will.
them to the
I
world.
will,
Which will be
yes.
very, very exciting.
Very exciting.
Oh, yes. And yes, the grey, cold, constant bombardment of boringness
It's
continues.
just awful. I've never known a spell of weather where it's literally like complete cloud cover. It's grey and dark and damp and wet and miserable, and it's been like that for days and days and days, and it's going to carry on for days and days.
First time
and
in my
cold
life.
as well.
First time in my life when I was walking into the shops and I just thought I am literally cold to my bones.
Yeah, it's just been horrible. It's been sort of hovering just below freezing and around freezing for like, oh my gosh, it feels forever. I'm craving to see the sun, and that's
I know.
not like me at all.
I know.
But I would like pay money to see the sun right now.
And speaking of Valentines, Kay, of course, released the Love Story socks.
Yes, I did.
And that series has been running. Whilst
Yeah.
the series is finished, now all the parts are available. So still time to come and join in with the love of knitting and the love of socks.
Absolutely.
And knit the gorgeous Love Story socks.
And I expect there's people who haven't finished by
Oh,
today. You know, just carry on. Obviously, carry on knitting them till they're finished.
And we actually have the event that we hold every February is Valentines, and
Yeah.
we've got a lovely review coming out actually with Jagger Spun yarn.
Oh.
And it's good because it's not just a review of Jagger Spun yarn, it's also a review of a lovely book as well. Is it Knitting the National Parks?
Oh, yeah. I heard you editing that.
Yes. So that's coming out next week. And the reason why I mentioned the Jagger Spun yarn thing is they're actually closing the place where they make it.
Is it Jagger or is it Jaeger?
It's probably Jaeger.
I don't. I mean, in this is it the
Isn't Jaeger
word? Is it?
J-A-E?
I don't know. Isn't it?
Jaeger, the fashion label, is Jaeger.
Is it not? Is it?
No, it's Jaggger.
Oh, I haven't heard of that one then.
Jagger Spun yarn.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds quite cool, doesn't it?
Yeah. Not Mick.
Not Mick Jaggerspun.
Back in the day, Jaggers were men who drove horses and carts
Oh,
and
right,
delivered
okay.
things places. In antiquity, his relatives will have driven horses and carts and delivered stuff.
Yeah.
It was effectively, it's like a lorry driver of today, or a train delivery driver who's taking, stuff places. Very interesting. Look,
Find
speaking of
names
interesting,
very interesting.
oh yes. Speaking of interesting, we've got so many amazing projects to show you.
We do.
So I think it's high time that I said, Kay Jones, what's on your needles?
Goodness, well, this first project, right? Have I got the right bag? Yes.
In the wedding dress fabric.
It sort of does look like my wedding dress. This is not my wedding dress fabric.
Oh, yeah, for a second, my heart was like,
No,
she's chopped up her wedding dress.
No. This is... What is this? It's not satin. It's something. Look, it's this.
Everyone will know. Comment below.
You know what this is, don't you?
Taffeta.
Yes, I think it's silk taffeta.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe I said it.
I think it's silk taffeta, and I made this bag a few years ago, and it's held up pretty well, but look what started to happen on the seams. Can you see there? I don't know if you can, but the seams have started to fray. The thing with this fabric when I was sewing it was, oh my gosh, it frayed like the absolute devil. And I should have left. It was a learning process, but not that I would ever sew with this again because it was fairly awful experience, but I would leave a bigger hem. What's it called? You know what I mean? I would sew. Brain can't remember words at all at
Sadly,
the moment.
I can't help you with the hem on a piece of...
Seam. Thank you.
I might have been able to help you with that.
I would leave a bigger. I would sew, further in from the. I'd leave a. You know what I mean. So that this didn't happen. But anyway, yeah, this does look like my wedding dress. Actually, it was gold. It was sort of a soft gold. I've never been fond of bright white wedding dresses. I don't know why, really. In this lovely bag, right, I've got a project which is, oh gosh, it's such a joyous project, and it's just bringing me such a huge amount of
joy.
And, I'm finding it very meditative. That's the word I'm looking for to knit this. So what I'm knitting, right, is a cowl, and it's another one of my Bits and Bobs cowls. Now the Bits and Bobs cowls, a pattern that I put out, can't remember the year. The blanket, I've got them all here actually to show you, but the Bits and Bobs blanket, I believe, was 2017, I think. So the cowl was probably the year after, but I don't know exactly. It's sometime around then. I had a hankering for a dark version because the two that I've got, I'll show you actually, I've got them here. So my original Bits and Bobs cowl is this one. I actually gave this one a wash the other day, and it washed up absolutely beautifully. Very light colours. And then I knit a second version with a mini skein set. This was a mini skein set from Pixie Yarn. This cowl and the blanket, actually, it's fingering weight held double. So for my first one, I feel like I think I held a strand of Cascade Heritage in Snow with then just leftovers, various leftovers. This one, I think, was a sparkle yarn because there's gold sparkle running all the way through it. And I don't think the mini skeins had gold sparkle in, but I might be wrong. But in any case, I held a neutral with the mini skeins with this. So that's the cowl that I'm re-knitting in dark colours, and I'll show you that in a minute. But this cowl came about because I designed the Bits and Bobs blanket, which I've actually got here, my original blanket. This is years old now. I've actually put this in the washing machine a couple of times and it's been fine. On like a delicate cycle, and it's been okay. So this is my... Oh, I shouted then.
Yeah, you get excited sometimes.
Sorry.
I have to tone it down in the...
Okay.
I tone it down in post.
Getting a bit excited about the blanket. I'll try not to yell.
It's really funny. She does it as well with the dyeing. You set the mics up so everything's perfect, and then she'll get into a thing, and it's like,
just get louder and louder.
whoa.
Okay,
I'm like trying to.
Try
no, it's fine.
Maintain the same level. So this is my original Bits.
No, it's gone silly now.
Now I'm going quiet. This is my original Bits and Bobs blanket that I made. So again, this is fingering weight held double, and this is just all leftovers. I mean, look at it. It's fabulous. It's massive. If you're not familiar with this blanket, you might not be. I haven't spoke about it for, probably years. But if you're not familiar with it, you might think it's brioche. It's not brioche. I designed that blanket originally because at the time there was, and brioche is still popular, isn't it? But I think at the time there was this mad craze about brioche and everybody was knitting brioche. And I tried it and I absolutely loathed it. We both did.
Yeah. For me, it was up there with crochet.
It wasn't for me. The way that you knit the brioche stitch
just
with the
annoying.
whole burps and the barks and the whatevers. And I thought to myself, well, this just looks to me like fisherman's rib, right? So I did a bit of research, and effectively it is the same as fisherman's rib. You know, it's the same. You get the same result, if you like. However, traditional fisherman's rib, generally speaking, it involves like a knit pearl texture and knitting stitches below. And I wasn't interested in doing knit pearls at all. So I actually came up with a way, and I don't know if this is, you know, it came from me is all I'm going to say. I don't know if other people have knit it this way. But the blanket doesn't have any pearl stitches in it at all. There's no purling. And the cowl, of course, does, because the cowl's in the round. However, it's still not done in the traditional fisherman's rib way. So it's a modification of a fisherman's rib, is what I want to say. But to me, it looks exactly like brioche. And I find it really, really melodic and relaxing to knit. And, you know, some people might say the same thing about the brioche stitch. Each to their own at the end of the day, isn't it, you know? What one person loves, another person dislikes. That's just the way of the world, and that's fine, isn't it? But I think it's nice to have options. So anyway, all of that waffle to say, what I wanted was a dark version of a Bits and Bobs, because I've been wearing these cowls all the time lately. This one is my pyjama cowl, so morning and night I have this on. And this one is more my going out cowl. But the thing with this cowl, I'll pop it on. It's big, right? But this is what I love. So look at it. Oh, gosh, I love it. Just want to leave it on because it's cold. But can you see what I mean? It's big and it's squishy. And, you know, at night time when I've got my pyjamas on and I'm reading my book, I'm like squishing into it. And it's just so cosy. I absolutely love it. So I got a new coat recently, and it's a dark colour, dark navy, and I thought, oh, I'd just like a dark coloured one. So right, I'm going to knit one. So I am using 1 full skein of fingering weight. So the cowl uses effectively about 200 grams. It's 100 grams of, I mean, you could just use leftovers all the way through. But what I tend to do is use 1 skein for like all the way through, and then hold leftovers double with that. So the main skein that I'm using, it's one I showed you actually recently. It's a pixie yarn. Okay, right. This for me is the year of knitting through some of my pixie yarns, because I just cannot, you know, as I said last time, I just have a problem buying it. So
you know when you say...
got to knit some.
And you know when you say, I'm going to knit through some of my pixie yarn?
Yeah.
You don't need to say pixie yarn yarns, because that's the equivalent of saying
but
the La Trattoria.
No, but the company's called Pixie Yarn.
Yeah, but I think people will know if you say, I'm going to knit through some of my pixie yarn.
Oh,
that's
okay.
the genius of a company name.
Right.
It saves the human race time.
What do you think?
She's given us the gift of time. Peg.
Okay. Right. So, yes, it's the year of me knitting through some of my pixie yarn.
Oh, there you go. What are you going to do with that 1 second you just gained?
I know.
Yes.
I'm bowled over. I just don't know what I will do with the time I've gained.
The amount of this yarn that you have, you'll probably have an hour of time.
This is true. I've bought several more skeins recently for hats. Yeah, you'll see those through the year. But anyway, this one I loved. So, yeah, pixie yarn, and it's called Hodgepodge. I think I showed it you, didn't I, last time? And this is it in the cake. It's so beautiful. So it reads as like an overall dark colour, but there's so many beautiful colours in it. So I'm using this as like the background, if you like, and then I pulled out loads of leftovers and minis that all were dark and variegated. Quite a lot of those are pixie yarn as well. And I'm knitting another one. So this is where I am up to. So here we go. Oh, I just love it. It's just so pretty. So I think I'm on my 3rd mini or leftover, if you like, and you can see it's just starting to change to a greenish colour at the top, and then there's a change sort of through here, and this was the first one I held. I just love it. Isn't it just so nice? And I think just to have a nice dark colour, you know, in the winter especially, just be so nice. And the thing with this, I did wonder, because I've knit this a lot, you know, and sometimes when you've knit a pattern a lot, you do kind of think, well, I want to knit it again. And I absolutely do. It's just it's so rhythmic. And okay, what I will say about this pattern, the cowl more than the blanket, I would say, because this one does involve pearls. You know, you do have to pay a bit of attention. It's not one of those patterns where you just, you know, stocking stitch round and round and round. You do have to pay a bit of attention. But that for me has been the thing that I've found really good for my brain, because I'm having to think about it. So I'm thinking about this and the beautiful yarn and the stitches and the squishiness, and I'm not thinking about other things that I probably shouldn't be thinking about. So I think sometimes it is good, isn't it, to have, and Dan would agree with this, because he wants every bit of knitting he does to be engaging.
Well, it comes down to one thing and one thing alone. If you're knitting for the product and it is about getting it out as fast as you can, then you're a product knitter and you just want fast, easy knitting, probably.
Yeah.
If you're a process knitter, you're looking for engagement and mind switch off.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I would say normally, overall, I'm more of a product knitter. But with this, it's definitely the process as well. And I try to do it you can't really do this fast. And I think that's the other thing that's good. You know, you do have to be deliberate. And if you are someone who knits fast, then you might think this is difficult. It's not difficult, but you do have to do it. Probably, you know, if you're a fast knitter, you would probably have to slow down a bit. But I think that's a good thing for us all, isn't it? To slow down a bit sometimes. So yeah, I'm just so enjoying it. It's just so lovely. And although it's a dark colour, there's lots of colour within there. Do you know what I mean? And I've just got lots of lovely yarn to add in. This is a pixie yarn as well. What did I knit with this? I can't remember. But look, it's a dark colour, but lots of lovely colours in it. And this is more blue leaning, which will be lovely when it comes to that one. And I've got some solids in here. I've got some that are more, you know, solid. I don't know if I'm going to put those in yet. I like all the variegated ones, but we'll see. Last thing to say about this, I got some new needles and they're fabulous. Do you know how I'm a bit of a higher bamboo fan? Or you might not know if you're new to watching us, but I am. I love higher bamboos, and I managed to find fixed circular higher bamboos in a shop, and I thought when the needles came it said international on the front of it, and I'm like, I've not ordered anything from abroad. What I didn't realise was the shop is in Jersey, so that's cool. It's called Fig Tree Yarns. And I got this set, which is 4mm 60cm, and I also got 4mm 40cm, so that's a 16-inch and a 24-inch in the higher bamboos, and they're just beautiful. Such gorgeous needles. So that again is making the project even lovelier, because I love the needles. Dan Jones.
Yes.
What's on your needles?
It's some scratchy Lopi yarn.
Oh.
It's my absolute favourite. Really enjoying knitting with this red one, although
That's
Ted would
called
probably call it something different.
Brick,
that's it.
I think it's Brick Heather or something.
Yes.
Something like that.
Good name. It's the Godey that arms were on. Always exciting.
Wow.
Enjoy very much attaching arms, and it's just brilliant. And then it's on to the best bit now, because you're
on the yoke.
The yoke stuff, which is really, really fun. And as you get into the decreases, that's when I sort of start to feel sad, because I know I'm coming to the end, and it's a shame in a way.
You get to wear it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm really looking forward to wearing this. It'll be just the business. Such an interesting colour. And yeah, it's such a funny thing, because obviously
can see the
it's
pattern
right at the very
coming
end,
through there.
And, you're right at the very end and you're into the really good stuff. And
Yeah.
it's so weird because you feel like you've, worked up to it. And then
Yeah.
suddenly it's, all over. But that's okay. It's fine. Because then, when you finish one, you can cast on another one.
Get to do another one.
Woohoo. Because I don't have that many, actually. I don't.
This is your 4th,
Yeah,
isn't
I
it?
know.
Well, that's quite a lot.
I would say 7 is the active number.
7.
Yes.
Right.
One for every day of the week.
Right, okay.
I do love them.
We're going to need a whole extra wardrobe for
That's
all of
okay.
your Let Lapey
I've
jumpers.
just made some space up there for an extra 3.
We did. We just had a declothes
Perfect.
cluttering.
So these are...
Lovely.
They'll be chow goose, won't
Chow goose,
Yes.
yeah, red lace.
they? And nice circular needles, as opposed to the square ones.
Oh, you mean they're round? I thought they are circular needles.
I should try knitting one on the cubics.
On the cubics.
My next one I'll do on cubics and see how it feels.
Yeah, I mean, chow are lovely. They have that
They are lovely.
that long tapered point, don't they? Very pointy.
Yeah.
Brilliant for lace.
Yeah. So, absolutely wonderful. Really, really enjoying knitting this and looking forward
It's a
to
nice colour on you, I think.
getting it finished in
Oh, look at that. It's going to be
I reckon
lovely.
4 to 6 weeks. Get it finished.
4 to 6 weeks. It sounds like a shipping estimation.
Yeah, definitely.
My heart sinks when I see things like that. I'm like, oh, how long?
What else is on your needles?
Okay, so my next thing is a new pair of socks. I think. Is this my... No, I cast on another pair last night, actually. But before that, these ones here are my only socks on the needles because I finished a pair, which I'm going to show you later. But this pair of socks, right, this is another project where I'm re-knitting something I've already knit. That's strange, isn't it? Because I'm not normally that kind of a knitter. So that is strange. But anyway, I am knitting a pair of my short and sweet socks. Now, the short and sweet socks were a design that I used during Knitty You, and now this is going back to 2020, so it's getting on for 5 years ago now that I did these socks. When I originally knit them, I used a yarn, I think it was an Eden Cottage yarn. It was like a pale pink, really pretty, just one colour all the way through. And then it struck me after I'd made them that if I knit them using a reddish pink and a green, they would look like strawberries. So you probably know where I'm going with this if you remember me knitting these socks. So I knit another pair for Bryony and she absolutely loved them. And she wore those out. So I knit another pair for her last year, I think it was. And now I'm knitting another pair. Now, let me show you the socks first of all, and then I'll explain my logic of re-knitting these again.
Just in case anyone's wondering, the Knitting University was like an intense course.
Yes.
There was a number of courses where you went through, there was DPN socks, there was magic loop socks, there was colour work hats, and you really did like a full-on
I did,
deep
and
dive.
these
So it's not
ones-
like a normal tutorial where
No.
each instalment might be 5-6 minutes, more like 20 minutes, and you were going into real detail on everything.
Yeah, and this was for magic loop, this one. But, knit it on whatever you want, really. But that was specifically why I designed these socks. So here's the one that I'm knitting right now. I'm almost finished with the gusset decreases. Oh, look at the colours, aren't they fun? So I dyed these yarns. Now, I have dyed these yarns on the show here, the strawberry yarns. You might well have seen me dye these colours before. So I thought, right, I'm going to dye up another set. So that's what I did. And I'm knitting another pair of strawberry socks. But these have this pretty little all-over eyelet. It's a really straightforward eyelet pattern. But it's just another one of those patterns that it's just really lovely to knit. It's got a nice number of rows per repeat. So you get through it quickly. You can read your knitting. It's got a bit of interest. It's all of those things. So yeah, I'm just nearly finished with the gussets on the first sock. Now, I'm knitting these socks initially. I mean, I'll see what the state Bryony's pair are in that I knit her last year. If they're still okay, then I'm going to have these, but she might claim them because she does really like them. She wears her short socks after a shower at night time because she finds they're nicer to wear with pyjamas. The main reason, right, that I'm re-knitting these is because when I've shown these in the past and when I've knit them before, I do get lots of people saying, oh, you know, I'd love to buy that pattern. And because it's not a platinum pattern, because my platinum collection will always remain exclusive to patrons. Because this one was in something different, it's almost 5 years ago, I thought to myself, do you know what? I might release this as a pattern, as a paid-for pattern, because it's just so fun. And I think, you know, you could knit strawberry socks, you could knit watermelon socks. I think it would be brilliant for that as well. And I suppose you might say that this looks like watermelon, although this pinky colour I think is not quite right for watermelon. But, you know, you might interpret them as watermelon. And I just really enjoy knitting them. It's just a really, really pleasant knit. And it's the sort of pattern, because now I'm knitting it for the 4th time. It is the sort of pattern that you will knit time and time again. And I really like that, because I feel like, you know, I'm putting out really good value for money, that you've paid for a pattern, but you've knit it over and over and over. And I really like that. So I think I'm going to wait until I finish this pair and then I'll make a decision. But I think I am going to publish these. Maybe Easter or beginning of May, something like that, where we're getting into that strawberry season. Because, you know, the best strawberries really, in my opinion, are English strawberries. Saying that, I've not had well, I have had strawberries that you buy in the shops that have come from, like, Spain. It's usually Spain, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
And they're just never as nice as a proper, you know, English strawberry. But maybe if you grow them in your garden, and in other countries, I'm sure they're absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to. We'd have to travel across the world.
I'd have to travel.
And try them.
I'd have to travel globally and have a little strawberry tasting session. So yeah, the short and sweet socks could well be coming out as a pattern in sort of the springtime, when we're getting into strawberry season. And look, I even found a little strawberry stitch marker. I can't remember where I got this from. Now I'm not going to be able to show it, am I? There we go. A little strawberry stitch marker. Make of that what you will. It is a strawberry. So yeah, I'm really enjoying knitting them again. So I think that again is another indication that it would be, you know, it would be something that other knitters would want to knit. So we'll see what happens with it. But for now, I'm just enjoying knitting them, and I'll keep you posted.
It's probably an interesting point just to mention, because again, you said about how you are what's the bamboo needles that you love?
Higher.
Yeah. And for any new viewers, the Knitting University, it all forms part of our offering to our Bakery Bear patrons, because we're approaching our 10-year anniversary.
We are.
We sat down to finish the show on the 16th of, well, no, it will have been probably the 14th or the 13th of April,
right.
2015.
Right.
That's when we sat down to finish the show. Broadcast the show on the 16th.
Said we were going to have to stop.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we were bombarded.
Yeah.
I mean, it was quite emotional, to be honest.
It was. It was.
Just completely bombarded with messages, and we're like, what on earth do we do? And we went backwards and forwards, and eventually we were contacted by someone who said, well, have you thought of Patreon? And no one had done that. No one in the knitting world had done that at that time. And no one really has done it in quite the way that we have, right up to, well, I don't think anyone has. It's not done it in the way that we do it.
No, I don't think so.
Our approach was always very much that we wanted to keep this show here for all of you. And then if you wanted to support this show, we had a basic level of patronage, which is $2 a month. Something that we're really proud of is the fact that, you know, over those 10 years, our patron prices have never changed. And it's because we took such a long time thinking through the levels of, we thought, you know, basic level, you're supporting this show and keeping this show on air. And like I said, it's just $2. And then as a thank you, people get the Patreon exclusive show. We've got one coming up on the 23rd, actually, of February. And also our magazine.
Yeah.
So you get a copy of our magazine that comes out about every 8 weeks. And then there's levels up from there then. And at each different level, you get different levels of perks, of special things. And the Knitting University was one of those perks.
It was.
And like you mentioned, it's 5 years ago, but we put out tutorials pretty much. I mean, we put new tutorials out, that's hard to say, every month.
Hard to say.
Yes. And so the Knitting University, that is something that our patrons can get access to.
Yeah.
But as Kay said, you may well put it out as a pattern.
I may well put that out as a pattern. Yeah.
Because
Then, there may be other patterns that I've done as well at different times that I might think about putting out, but never the platinum patterns.
And it's interesting that Kay mentions the platinum patterns, because the platinum collection, Kay's first one of 2025,
1st of March
comes out on
it's right here.
Yes.
It's right here. I've got it here because I need to take it with us. We're going away filming. So, I'm taking this with us just to get some lovely photos. But this is I might just call it the Pemberley cowl.
Right.
Because it was winter at Pemberley. Yeah. But seeing as I'm releasing it in March, I think I'll just call it the Pemberley cowl. Yeah. So Dan knit this last year sometime, year before.
Yeah.
So this is going to be the March pattern. It's beautiful.
So that's the first platinum pattern of 2025. Comes out the 1st of March. And it's the platinum collection, which are exclusive.
Yes.
There's about 26 patterns now. All of them completely exclusive.
I'll never release those ones. Yeah.
So what else is on my needles? It's this gorgeous pair of socks. Last time I called them the wrong thing.
Oh, yes.
I think these are the Snow Forest socks.
Snow Forest.
Does that sound right?
Yes.
The pattern's in here.
You kept calling them the frosted socks, which is another one of my designs.
It's the Snow Forest socks.
Snow Forest.
I got it right.
And these ones I did a few years ago, didn't I?
Yes. It was part of a collection.
It was.
Kay was collecting a collection.
I'm keeping
as she
that.
tries to get my.
No, it was on the end.
What Kay does is she's she's a vandal. When we film, I give her my projects and she always drops all my stitches and then I have to fix it afterwards.
Do not.
So these are my lovely Snow Forest socks in yarn that Kay dyed, knitting them on DPNs, which I absolutely love.
Yeah.
And do you know what? Considering there's lots of plain stitches, perfect.
Yeah, there is.
Because
plain on that side.
Because there's the lovely pattern that comes round every row, and it's absolutely enough to keep my interest.
Yes.
So
it's very pretty.
Interesting journey for me in discovering exactly the type of socks that I enjoy to knit the most. And I think so long as there's a little bit of detail on there, specifically, well, I mean, it doesn't really matter where it is, because I do quite enjoy it when it's on the back as well. That's really cool. But really enjoying knitting these socks.
It's a nice
and
heel
just
flap.
on the decreases right now.
Yeah, and the yarn that you used, this was the first colour that I dyed up for my perfect socks.
Yes.
So this is, do you know the shoe books?
And now I'm using them for my perfect socks.
So pretty. Yeah. Oh, lovely.
Thank you very much. What else is on your needles?
Okay, so the last thing I've been working on is my skinny, scrappy, stripy scarf. So you might remember this from, I've not shown it for a little bit, but I have been working away on it. It's been my bedtime knitting, so I'm getting a couple of stripes done every night. It still needs to be, I think, about twice as long as it is, to be fair. But, we'll just keep going. And I've just started with a yarn, and right, I'll talk about that yarn in a second, but I'll show you the scarf. So here it is. Look at this. How fun is this? Oh my goodness, it's so cool. So look, I started down here. So I'm just knitting a tube, just like a sock, basically. Just knitting the leg of a sock. It's 56 stitches, 2.75 millimetre. And I'm using leftovers of self-striping yarns. So we started down here with, I think this is Freckled Whimsy, I seem to remember. This one is Fab Funky Fibres, Stripey Cat Yarns, Polka Dot Creek. And then we've got a Hobbity Christmas, very Hobbity Christmas from Moustache. Polka Dot Creek again, Freckled Whimsy again with these pinks. And then I think I was here, I just started this Star Wars one. This is Moustache and this is the Han Solo one here. And then this whole rainbowy section, I knit down some socks in this, and it's Creolean Designs. And it was just a Rainbow Club colourway from a few years ago. We've got another Freckled Whimsy, the socks I've just finished for Bryony for Christmas. More Fab Funky Fibres. These are the socks I've just finished that I'll be showing you later. And then I've just started on another one, which is the one I'm just going to mention. But isn't it fun? I think I'd prefer it. Right, do you know when I got to the moustache one here? Do you know how moustache yarn... Oh, my arm's aching there. Do you know how moustache yarns... I love them, but then they're more kind of irregular, aren't they? They stripe irregularly. I think if I do another one of these, I think I prefer it when it's just all sort of fairly standard stripes. And then again, this Creole one, although it is self-striping, I feel like, you know, it's very blendy, isn't it? I would have preferred this if the colours were more distinct. But Bryony won't be bothered. This is for Bryony. But look how fun it's going to be round your neck. Let's have a look, shall we? Let's see how long it is. Look how fun that is. So it needs to be sort of long enough to put around your neck, wrap around, and then come down the other side. So you can see it's not long enough yet.
You've got loads to go.
Yeah, it needs to be quite a bit longer. It needs to sort of come down to about here, you know, back down to your sort of waist level on both sides. So I do have a way to go, but that's fine. It's just nice, easy knitting, you know. But I've just started to add in the yarn, right? And this is going to be quite controversial because I don't really like the base. This is a self-striping yarn that I bought a few years ago and I didn't use it at the time. It's one of the Advent striping yarns and I thought, oh, that'll be perfect because I've got 24 stripes. And it came in 250 grams, so I thought, right, I'll wind just one of the 50 grams. It leaves me 70 grams because there was a mini. Still enough to knit a pair of socks. Brilliant. And I started adding it in and the base is really thick. I can't quite fathom what's going on. So the yarn is Cozy Knitter and this one was the 2022 Advent self-striping. And you can see you've got 250 grams. I'm using one of them and then a neutral 20 grams. And I started knitting it in. I was like, gosh, this feels really, really thick. And I'm using 2.75 millimetre, you know. And I just don't know if it's going to cause because it's so much plumper, I'm worried it's going to cause it to sort of, you know, it's going up like this, it's going to cause it to go out like that because it's so much thicker. So, and I've only started it, I'm on this blue one here. I've only just started it, so it'd be easy to pull it back. So I'm just thinking whether I want to do that because I don't want to distort the scarf, and I think because it is so much thicker, I think the gauge is just going to be different, you know, quite a lot different. So it caused me to go and look at the base because I was like, why is this so different? Because it's listed as fingering weight. So it's an 80-20 superwash merino nylon, but for 120 grams it's 405 meters. So I was like, right, well, that is quite a lot thicker because if you proportion that down to 100 grams, I think it comes out at maybe something like, I don't know, 340 meters or something for 100 grams. And when a normal standard, let's say in inverted commas, fingering weight is usually more round about 400 meters, that's quite a significant difference. So that is why I'm noticing that it's much plumper. And I just think, gosh, I know lots of people knit with this and love it, but I can't imagine knitting this with 2.25 millimetre. It must be, I mean, I'd love to hear your comments because I know that lots of people knit with this, like I say, and have enjoyed it. It's just, the base is just, I've not quite knit with a base that's like this before. So I'm just thinking whether I want to carry on because, like I say, I really don't want to have a great big section with there being, if it was just 6 stripes or something, I'd probably risk it. But because it's 24, I really don't want to have a big section that's sort of wider than the rest. So I might pull that one back. But it's interesting. The colours are lovely. The colours look really lovely. I can't remember why I didn't use it at the time. I think it just got a bit late in the season because it came from Canada. I can't remember, you know, maybe I didn't get it in time for me to be still feeling Christmassy. I don't know. I can't even remember the reason. And I was so excited when I found it because I was like, oh, 24 stripes, yes. And now I'm a bit like, I don't know, because it just feels quite dense. All that being said, I'm loving the scarf, and I know a few people have cast one of these on, which is just fantastic. Really enjoying it, and I think it'll be a really fun, like if you've got I've got a black jumper on, imagine it with something dark. That'd be really cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, and I've got, and I wound another one, just last thing to say. I threw caution to the wind and I wound a very precious skein to put in. I've had this years. It was sent to me as a really kind gift and it's been too precious to wind up for 10 years or something ridiculous. And I was like, no, wind it up, put a section into your scarf and then you've got it wound to knit some socks. So it's Fibre Nymph Dye Works in Fruit Loops. Does everybody remember when there was a mad craze and everybody was knitting Fruit Loop socks and you could not get this for love nor money? Someone sent me a skein, so you can imagine how thrilled I was, and I've kept it all that time.
I don't remember, Kate.
You don't remember. I'm sure you all out there will remember, but look at it. Oh, it's so cool. So I'm going to put a section of this in, and then I've got it to knit some socks. So there's no excuse for me not using it for socks now.
Speaking of socks, it's time for more My Perfect Socks.
Yes.
And today is a big episode because it's time to dye that yarn that Kay's going to use for a heel. So let's sit back and enjoy the next wonderful episode of My Perfect Socks.
It's a brand new year, so it's time for a new challenge. I want to knit myself the perfect pair of socks. To do that, I'm going to need yarn and lots of it. The inspiration will be one of my favourite films. So together, let's create My Perfect Socks. Welcome back everybody to My Perfect Socks. Yes, I'm here again and it's very exciting today because we've got to the fourth colour now, haven't we? We're speeding along, but we're going to be knitting the heel today, so that's very exciting. So yeah, I've chosen the fourth colour. Now this was a tricky one because when you are adding the heel, what I have to consider and what, I don't know whether everybody considers this, but you knit the heel, so that particular colourway I wanted it to blend nicely with the previous one. But also what you've got to think about is that the one that follows this, it will be next to the heel colour, but it'll also be next to colour 3, the top of the foot. So you've got to sort of consider that as well. And I want to choose a colour that's going to blend nicely with colour 3, but then also with colour 5, and that colour 5 works well with colour 3. That's all a bit complicated, isn't it? But I hope you realise what I mean. So yeah, it took a bit of thinking about and changing of minds, but the colour that I've gone for this time, and this is another one that's completely unseasonal. There will be other ones in the future that will also be unseasonal because this colourway is very much an autumnal colourway, and I've called it New York in the fall. It comes from, in the film, when they're kind of emailing each other at the beginning, Joe Fox says to Kathleen something like, "Don't you just love New York in the fall?" it's something along those, that might not be word for word, but something like, don't you just love New York in the fall? Makes me want to go out and buy school supplies. And then he goes on saying, I would send you a bouquet of newly sharpened pencils, and it goes on like that. So yeah, it's New York in the fall. And a lot of the film, sort of particularly at the beginning, you see a lot of scenes where it looks very autumnal, very fallish in New York. So it was an essential that I get this colourway in there. But this one is full of all those typical autumn shades, but also some fun, bright pops of colour as well. Because, in fact, I won't go on about my inspiration because we're going to talk about that shortly. So I won't go off on a tangent already. But yeah, just to let you know that, yeah, we are working on the heel today, and the colourway is New York in the fall. Okay, so I'm cozied up now in my little corner and ready to tell you the sort of specifics of the inspiration for today's New York in the fall colourway. So yeah, it comes from those conversations that, not conversations, the emails that the two main characters share quite early on in the film. And I suppose there isn't a single image that inspired this, but at the beginning of the film, there's a scene where their kind of two lives keep almost meeting. So they're both walking to work and like shops are opening up. They go in and get a coffee and all of these sorts of things are going on, and they're walking through the streets. And it was those kinds of scenes really where I guess autumn is just there, if you know what I mean, and life is going on. It was the thought of autumn, but also the autumn specifically in New York. You know, New York, which is, you know, fast and busy and fun and bright and shiny and all of those sorts of things. So I wanted to get the feeling of autumn across, but with added like oomph, a bit of New York sparkle and shine. So when I was choosing the colours, you know, I went for some dark, moody colours like you would typically get, I suppose, at that time of year. But then instead of going, for example, for like a pumpkin orange, I know there's a jacquard colour that's called pumpkin orange, which would be the perfect sort of autumnal colour. I decided to go for a neon orange, you know. And then that sort of pepped that up, and then that led on to using another neon colourway and then a very bright pink. And it sort of evolved gradually, this colourway, and yeah, I absolutely love it. It's really variegated. It's got lots of sort of darker spots, but then it's got really bright sort of, you know, virgin on neon sections as well. But the thing is, although it's very bright in those areas, because we've also used some darker colours, it somehow balances, and it just looks brilliant. I haven't knit it up yet, so I don't know what it's going to knit up like. You know, the mini, I don't know really what direction we're going to go with that. I guess we could go down the sort of darker, moodier route, and we could go sort of with the, you know, deep browns, that sort of a colour, or we could go a bit bonkers and go with the brights. But we'll just see how I feel once we've dyed up the main skein and decide what direction the mini skein is going to take. But that'll be fun, won't it? So yeah, that's all about the colourway today. So it's all of the autumnal vibes going on in February. Why not, I say. It seems a bit bonkers, but you know, I think it's fun, isn't it? It's sort of fun to be doing these things that are out of season. So let's see how this goes today. I really hope you enjoy it. If you are a fan of everything autumnal, but you also like a little bit of bright fun going on, this one's definitely for you. Okay, so here is everything that we're going to need each time we dye our yarns. So first of all, I've got my saucepans that we dye in. These are stainless steel. I've used, if you've watched me before, you've seen me use these many times. But yeah, it's a stainless steel pan. I like the ones that have 2 handles because they're nice and easy to move around when they've got heavy water in. I'm going to use two pans this time because we're dyeing 2 different colorways each time. So I will say this right at the very beginning. All of your equipment that you use for dyeing, you must only ever use it for dyeing. Don't use it for anything else because the dye powders are toxic. Okay, so pack it all in a box, keep it in your garage, whatever, that's what I do, and then just bring it out to dye your yarns. So 2 pans, and these are, I think these are classed as like casserole pans in this country. I'm not sure exactly what size they are. I haven't ever measured them, but it's that big. Just a nice big roomy stainless steel saucepan. You want something that's not going to stain. We then need our citric acid. So citric acid is our mordant. The mordant is the sort of chemical, if you like, that makes the dye permanently stick to the yarn. So in my case, I'm going to use citric acid, which I would say is the most common way these days that dyers get their mordant. Some dyers use vinegar. People like Malabrigo, Madeline Tosh, their yarns always smell vinegary when you get them. That's because they use vinegar instead of citric acid. But citric acid is easy to get. It's a food safe product. It's basically the stuff that goes into fizzy sweets if you ever eat fizzy sweets. So we've then got some gloves. I've got some thicker rubber gloves which are more heat proof, and then I've just got these thin sort of surgical gloves. I prefer these when I'm actually dyeing because I can feel things better than the thicker gloves, but I use these ones when I'm sort of in the water when it's a bit hot. I've got a mask, of course. You must always, always, always use a mask when you are dyeing your yarns. I've got my big mixing spoon. Where would I be without my big mixing spoon? And a jug. This is just one of these cheap plastic jugs that you can get anywhere, and I use this for when I make a liquid solution with my dyes. I've got some old tea towels, and then underneath here I've got a piece of oilcloth, just a spare bit that I had from making those sort of wipe clean tablecloths, and this will keep your work surfaces lovely and clean and dye free. And then finally, in my little pot here, I've got some brushes. So just some normal children's paint brushes, cheap as anything. You can get them in the pound shop usually. So some lovely paint brushes. And then my measuring spoon. So this is a 1/8 of a teaspoon measuring spoon. I think they're classed as like scientific measuring spoons, these ones. But this is stainless steel. I don't think I've ever had any other teaspoon. And you just wash all these things thoroughly afterwards, ready for the next time. So we've got our brushes, we've got our measuring spoon. And then finally, we're going to be looking at our yarns. So each time we dye in this series, I'm going to be dyeing the same yarns. So in my bowl here, I've already got soaking in just some water, warm water from the tap, and a scoop of my citric acid, which is about a tablespoon. I never measure amounts with citric acid, and I'm honestly not sure of the exact official requirements. I'm not even sure there are any official requirements, but all I've ever done is bunged in like a scoop. These things usually come with a scoop, and I'm guessing it's about a tablespoon. Does it say on the back? No, it doesn't. But I just put in a scoop when I'm soaking my yarns, and then you'll see each time I dye a batch of yarn, I put in another scoop. So in my bowl soaking, we've got fingering weight yarn, because this is for a lovely perfect pair of socks. So we've got a fingering weight yarn. Here I've got 100 grams, just one single 100 gram skein. And then here I've got two 20 gram mini skeins. So this is an 85-15 base and it's a 4-plied yarn. So it's nice and round and plump, it's soft and bouncy. This is the base that I've been dyeing on for quite some time now. You can get lots of other fingering weight bases. You know, the standard one is that sort of 75-25 that a lot of a lot of independent dyers use. And that's very nice. I use that a lot to knit socks. But when I'm dyeing it myself, I just prefer this base. It's a bit more kind of luxurious. It's just squishy and lovely. So 85-15 base, there's 400 meters per 100 grams. And then we've got the two 20 gram minis. So that's going to be what we're going to be dyeing on each time. So there we go. That's us all ready, and that's all of the things that we're going to use every single time we dye our yarn. Okay, so what dye colours do we need for our beautiful colourway today? So we've got 5 colours this time. So I think we've only used 3. So yeah, 5 this time. And actually they're all jacquard. So I will tell you, as always, I'll say what the colour is, the number, if it's got a number, and then the type of shade. So you can substitute it in if you need to do that. So we're starting off with purple. So that's 613 purple. And this is just a kind of, when you think of a purple colour, it's that kind of a shade, you know. It's a very basic purple. When I say basic, I don't mean to be insulting, but you know what I mean. It's not kind of like a lavender, it's not a violet, it's just purple, okay? 613. We've then got brown, which is 635. And I've used jacquard brown quite a lot. It's brilliant for speckles actually, because it breaks really well into different colours. But yeah, brown, it's like a bark brown, I would say, that kind of quite deep woodsy brown. We've then got hot fuchsia, which is 620, and this is like a hot pink. You know, if you think of that hot pink, but it is fuchsia. So when I say hot pink, I don't mean like that sort of Barbie pink. This is fuchsia, but in a very bright way, almost neon, I would say. Talking of neon, this is exciting because the next 2 colours are actually neon colours. Now I bought these neon colours in a little pack. It was a jacquard neon pack. I can't remember all of the ones that were in there. And I've not used them with you before, the neons, so I'm throwing a bit of it in today, which is fun. So we're starting with fluorescent yellow, and it's 640. So it's that highlighter yellow, basically, is what that is. And then we've got fluorescent orange, which is also classed as a neon. I don't know. You see, when I think of neon colours, I think of yellow, I think of green, I think of pink. Don't really think of orange as a neon, but it's just, imagine the brightest shade of orange you could find, and that's what this is. So that's number 641. Did I say that? 641 fluorescent orange. So that's all 5 shades that we're going to use today. So now it's time to get to the dye pots. Okay, here we go then. We have got in our pot here heating up, it's just about a quarter full of water, and we've got about a tablespoon of citric acid in there, and that's just heating up nicely. So I'm going to get my yarn into the pot. Yeah, a good squidge, shake it loose a little bit, and then as we've done before, we're going to put this into the water and then move it around to get lots of yarn, you know, on the surface. Okay, so with this colourway, there's actually quite a lot of layering of colour that goes on. And it actually turns out to be quite a complex colourway. It's very variegated and beautiful, I've got to say. So the first colour that I'm going to put in here is actually the purple. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the purple in sort of little groups. If you remember when I was dyeing yarn for my favourite blanket, I used this kind of a technique when I was dyeing those yarns. And although we're starting off using that technique, it then doesn't sort of continue through. We change it up a little bit. But we're going to start off with the purple. This is a colour actually I don't use a whole lot. And I don't know why, because it is a really good purple shade. It's like that sort of true purple. So I'm going to use, not too much, maybe about a quarter there. And I'm just going to sprinkle it in sort of little ribbons in different areas, because I don't want this spreading, you know, over other bits of the yarn. I do want some nice areas of this colour going in. And then I'm just going to push it just a little bit like that, only a little bit, just to move it out into the areas around. So we will get some speckling. You can see the speckles there, which is lovely. But we're also going to get some more sort of gentle colours. There we go. That's good. Now immediately I'm going to take my brown and I'm going to put some brown on top of the purple. So this is what I mean by sort of layering the colours. And this is going to intensify it even more. So what I'm going to do, about the same again, a quarter maybe of the brown. And I'm going to put it over the top of the purple, but I want some areas just of brown as well. So we're going to go sort of over the top and then maybe off to the side a little bit. You know, a bit more in some areas than others. And then the same thing, just give it a really little gentle push. And what that brown will do over the purple is it will really deepen it, but then we'll also get some little areas where it's just brown. So that's lovely. So what we need to do now is just let that set. So it won't take long. It's nice and steamy now in there. 5-10 minutes at the most. Don't touch it, just leave it be, let that set. And then what we're going to do is we'll move the yarn and then we're just going to repeat that on the kind of what's underneath that top surface right now. Okay, so that's had 5 minutes or so now, and those colours are set on top. So we're going to give this a little move. So we just lift it up. It actually looks really lovely, doesn't it, already? I always think yarns look lovely when you've done very little to them. But we can see here, we've got brown and we've also got purple, and we've got some quite deep colours going on, which is what we want. We want this first layer, we're getting that kind of deep autumn sort of feel to it. So we're going to give this a little shufty and also give it a flip over too. And then back in and just rearrange it. There's plenty of white areas though. So we're going to now repeat what I just did, but maybe just a little bit less than I did before. Okay, so once again, just leave that for 5 minutes and then we're going to move on and we're really going to jazz this up. Okay, so that's all set now, and now we're going to put in a really jazzy colour. Fluorescent orange is going in now. Now, I haven't moved the yarn, it's just as it was. We don't need to move it for this first layer. And I'm going to get some of the orange, maybe about a quarter again. And I'm going to sprinkle it in the gaps. I don't mind too much if it merges with the purple, that's fine, not got a problem with that. But primarily, I'm sort of aiming for the gaps. So just a little sprinkle here and there in the gaps. It really is a bright colour, this, but funnily, you know, when the skein's finished, although there are areas of real bright colour, because we've laid down those dark colours straight away, you know, initially, it kind of tones it all down a little bit. but it is still quite a nice, bright, fun colourway. So you can see how bright that orange is next to the darkness of the purple. And actually where it merges into the purple, it's really pretty. There we go. Now we're just going to let that set for a minute. We don't mind if there's a bit of orange dye left in the water when we move it around. That's totally fine. So just a couple of minutes just to give it a chance to initially absorb most of that orange colour, and then we're going to move it and just do that again. So let's lift it up. There is a little bit of orange left in there. That's fine, not a problem. So now you see we've got orange going on, and I think it looks sort of Halloweeny at this stage, which I guess when we're doing an autumn fall inspired colourway, it's bound to have an edge of that. So back in, and you can see in the pot now we've got lots of areas that don't have that lovely bright orange. I mean, it is a glorious orange. If you like orange, I think you would love this. Funnily, you know, historically, I was never that much of a fan of orange, but in recent years, I have grown to really like it. And I think if you get the right shade of orange, I think there's probably an orange shade that, you know, that you would like. And as it spreads out into the other areas, it does produce a softer shade as well. Okay, so that's totally fine now. So give that another 5 minutes or so just to set that orange and absorb all of it into the yarn. And then the final stage, oh my goodness, this is so fun. I cannot wait to do this bit because it involves hot fuchsia. Okay, so that's now set. So we can give this yarn a little move around, and then we're going to put in the final two colours actually, but they kind of go in at the same time. So that's lovely. There's really not a lot of colour in there. That's perfect. So let's give that a little move. Oh, it's looking really lovely. Back in. And we will now do something crazy because we're going to put in some hot fuchsia. Now that might seem very unfall-like, but we're actually going to turn the fuchsia into orange with the hope that there's a little bit of fuchsia peeking through somewhere. Okay, now it's a strong colour, this hot fuchsia, so go steady. So here we go with the fuchsia into little areas again. Doesn't really matter where you choose at this point because we've got quite a lot of variegation going on now. Quick little push. Not too much, we're not too worried. And then you want to get your fluorescent yellow. It's going to be fun, isn't it? Okay, on top of the pink, directly on top of it, like this. Lovely, and then go back and give that a little mix around, and you will see that pink change into a shade of orange. And it is a different shade to the one that we've already put in, but we will inevitably have little areas that stay pink. There we go. So it does, to my eye here, it does now look orange with a little hint of pink, which is perfect. So once again, leave that for a few minutes. I'm going to turn and I'm going to repeat that again. So let's just lift it up and have a look at what we've got. Ooh. So here is where we put the pink. And I don't know if you can see, but we've got pink here, just a little hint of it. And then we've got this whole section of this beautiful, bright but deep orange. And then also bits of yellow as well coming through. It's just lovely. I love layering colour like this because you never, initially you never really know what's going to happen. And sometimes it works, like with this one, it's worked beautifully. Sometimes it doesn't, but we never know unless we try. Okay, so we've given that a little move around. So this time when I do this, I'm going to put in a little bit less pink and a bit more yellow, so that what's going to happen is I'm also going to get some nicer yellow sections running through this. So we're going to get that pink, but not too much. So just a little bit in a few little areas. Quick little push. Okay, that's fine. And now we're going to use a bit more of that yellow. in the same areas, but then what we're going to do, so we've got it over those areas of pink, but now I'm going to give it its own highlights, if you like, and just pop it into a few areas just by itself so that we get some nice yellow going on as well. And give that all a nice little push. Okay, so there we go. We have done. So now turn up your heat. Make sure that's nice and at the simmering point. Let it have a little simmer for about 10 minutes. Then we will pop it outside to cool down. So there we go, that's our first and main colourway all dyed up and it's cooling down outside. So come back in part 2 when we're going to dye up the coordinating minis and then we're going to get to the knitting. So I'll see you back soon.
I think that's my favourite so far. I mean, I know it's not even finished yet.
No.
But just, I don't know, there's something like...
It's very lovely.
It's so sort of exciting with the bits at the end. And also, I love the bits with the luminous jobbies.
I know. I did tweak it a tiny bit from when I originally dyed it. When I originally dyed it, I didn't put the purple in, so I added that because I thought it would give it an extra something, and it definitely does.
Yeah, really, really fun. And I think it's always really exciting when you try out new, because, you know, they were new to you, weren't they? The
neons. Yeah, I mean...
Surprising.
It's really surprising because they don't scream at you in the finished skein at all.
No.
If I'd just used them by themselves, yeah, they would shout at you.
Sort of makes you want to...
I do want to. I haven't used them just purely by themselves yet.
And let them shout.
Yeah.
Just see what happens.
Or just do a variegated with like all of the neons. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I've sort of love to knit some socks or something like that. That would be really exciting.
Yeah,
but so much more to come because we've not even got to the knitting yet. And of course, there's the contrast yarn as well.
Yes.
So super exciting.
Very exciting.
But gorgeous so far. More to come later on in the show.
Yep.
Now it's time for a very, very special Kay Jones. What's off your needles?
Okay, I've got 3 things. The first, these were off. Were these off last time?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, so these are not on a. No, they weren't. Yeah. So it's my sweetie socks. I'm going to show you again because the pattern is now out there. So here are the beautiful socks.
And look at the gorgeous sweets.
Can you see the little sweets?
Oh,
if you look at
yes.
it that way, you can see the little sweets. But also, with this stitch pattern, I said this before, but sometimes in some of the photos, you can see it. The pearl stitches form like a grid, and it looks sort of a little bit quilted as well. It's really pretty. Sweetie socks are out there and available to purchase, as always, from Ravelry or Lovecrafts.
And if ever there was a pattern that was close to our hearts, it's definitely this one.
Definitely,
because
sweeties.
Literally, it was like... And still to this day, I mean, it's funny that they're called different things in different part of the world, because I know in America you would have, of course, called them candy.
Candy, yeah.
But, you know, here it was always sweets.
Sweets, yeah, still
and
is
sweeties.
Sweeties, yeah.
Yeah. And there was nothing more exciting. It was normally your grandparents... where you went to your grands and they said, "There's £1. Go and buy
£1?
Some." Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
That's incredibly generous. I never had £1 to go to the sweetie shop.
Well,
gosh.
I remember, first of all, it was 50 pence.
20 pence I might have had back in my day.
First of all, it was 50 pence and then it was £1.
Goodness me. Because I would have been going to the sweetie shop sort of mid to later 70s.
I wasn't going to the sweet shop.
Well, I know you weren't. You were only born mid-70s, so I was born in 71, so I would have been going to the sweet shop from like probably age 6 onwards.
Yeah, I would say I was about the same. So I was going from sort of 81 onwards.
Right.
That was the first time I was in a sweet shop, I would say, on my own anyway, or with my brothers.
Well, I used to go with my brother. My brother's 2 years older, or one of my brothers is 2 years older than me, so we used to go together.
Yeah.
And I still bear the scar on my knee from one occasion because
Right.
we used to live on quite a steep hill.
Right.
And he'd gone off and I ran after him saying, "Wait for Mark, wait for me," like you do. I fell and skidded and cut my knee and I've still got the scar on my knee. Yeah.
Gosh. Well, for me, it was a walk.
Didn't even get the sweets because I was injured.
It was a walk up to Baxter's, and it was always praying that Mr. Baxter was there, because Mrs. Baxter was a bit terrifying.
Right.
But Mr. Baxter used to come out, and he always used to have on the white lab coat.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although no, it was the Arkwright brown coat.
I was going to say it wouldn't have been a white lab coat.
And Mrs. Baxter looked just like someone, literally just like someone from the Compo and Clegg.
Last of the Summer Wine.
Last of the Summer Wine. Not Nora Batty, it was one of the other ones.
Oh, right,
I'd have to look at the cast, but she
Right.
literally was the spitting image. And she was really quite terrifying. And she always used to be like it used to scare me senseless. They had like a butchery counter.
In the sweet shop?
Yeah, but
God, that's
so
weird. So it must have been like a corner shop.
it was.
But they did sell meats. Arkwright
yeah,
sold
sliced
like
meat.
bacon and stuff,
Yeah,
didn't they?
yeah. So, and
That's open all hours.
I was
we're
always
talking
terrified when I would go in, and the machine would still be spinning.
Yeah, yeah,
And you'd be
yeah.
like, oh no, I don't want to go in. I'll go in when it's finished spinning.
Right.
And then you'd go in and you'd get your sweets. And the reason why you wanted Mr. Baxter was he always gave you extra. I'll have half a pound of Yorkshire mixture, please.
Half a pound was a quarter. You know, a quarter was the thing. It's now grams, isn't it? Don't even go there.
No, it's
I
right.
refuse to think in grams.
These, though,
But yes,
are the absolute
Sweetie Socks are out
business.
there and available if you would like to, you know, get yourself a few sweeties, because I had to buy some sweets for the photos for these, and Dan's now happily eating those.
Yes, lovely.
Enjoying all the sweets.
Yes, rhubarb and custard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had one of the sherbets.
Yeah.
Slightly more. I loved sherbets when I was young, but I'm
Yeah.
slightly more wary now. Just
Not
because
good on tummies, are they?
No.
All that citric acid.
to take care of your tum tum.
Do you have to take care of your tum tum? Yeah. Yogurt is the key, everybody.
Yes,
Bio yogurt
yes.
has been so good for my tummy, I can't even tell you.
Buy a yogurt and also a prebiotic.
Prebiotic, yeah.
Raspberry moju.
I've been having the raspberry moju shots, which is a prebiotic. It doesn't work for everyone, I don't think, but I've been having a shot of that with my breakfast every morning for the past few months, and it's just been brilliant. I've not, touch wood, my tummy's been really good the past
To be fair, mine
couple
has
of
too.
months. Yeah.
Mine's really improved.
Yeah.
Anyway, what else is off your needles?
So I've finished another one of my folded hats. Oh, doesn't look at that purple. Oh my goodness. That looks amazing. I finished this one now. So I used conversational threads. This was a gift from our lovely Jen. So it's conversational threads. I'm presuming this might be local to Jen. Jen's Philadelphia. And it was hibiscus. And just lovely. I have got a little bit left over. I used about 75 grams, I think. And for this one, so this is the one with the folded brim that I've been knitting just lately. And for this one, I tried a different crown decrease. So I did the 4-pointed one, which is really nice. I liked it. So again, if I do put this pattern out, I think I will. But I think what I'm going to do is put in 2 crown decrease options. There'll be the gathered one, which is the one I've showed before, and then this 4-pointed one, because people might have a preference, I suppose. Both perfectly nice to knit, and they both fit really nicely. Yes, and I'm gonna, when I write this up, there'll be three sizes is what I want to say. This one is sort of a medium. There'll be a slightly smaller, and then a slightly larger one as well. So there'll be a few options there. So I need to choose my next colour. Oh no, I have already chosen my next colour. I'll show you next time, shall I? It's a pixie yarn, just for a change. It's a pixie yarn, beautiful deep blue with a bit of purple in. It's gorgeous. So that's another folded hat done. So my final finished thing is Bryony's socks. So she'll be thrilled. Look.
They're sick.
You're trying to be a youth.
Yeah, they are for Bryony. They're great.
Yeah, don't they look lovely? So this is Fab Funky Fibres, and it's Space, a Final Frontier. And you've got the purple mini. So I've just knit a plain sock. I put in my butterfly heel and then umbrella toe. So I think she's going to really like these. And they're quite long in the leg, which is good. It's still freezing, so I think she'll like having a longer pair. So they're all finished. I really love how they've come out, actually. I think they look super pretty. I think they look spring-like, but also a tiny bit spacey with the black and white.
You stop talking about spring.
So sick of this weather.
They're gorgeous. She's going to love them.
She is going to love them.
Marvellous.
Yeah. So,
Great. So, speaking of gorgeous socks, it's time that we got back and we, of course, do the contrasting yarn, but then let's get sat down and let's get knitting some heels.
Yes.
Welcome back everybody to My Perfect Socks. So our main colour is now all done. It's time now to dye up the coordinating colour. So we're going to get to that, we're going to get it dyed up, and then excitedly it'll be time to sit down, we're going to have a chat about the socks, and then we're going to get to the knitting. Okay, so here we go with our contrasting mini. So what I think I've decided I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to use the purple, because I think the purple will make a really lovely contrast with those colours, because the purple was the first colour that we put in, so it's not going to be one of the predominant colours when you see the main skein, but it's in there, so I know that it's going to coordinate really nicely. But what I might do, I'm going to do it purple first, just plain purple, and we see what it looks like. But I might add in a tiny wash of orange, just to see if we can get it leaning a little bit more towards that kind of brownish, burnt, orangey sort of colour. But let's see. So I'm going to put in some purple first of all, and I'm not sure. I've never dyed this colour in its pure form, so I don't know, how strong of a colour it is. So I'm just going to put in a tiny bit, and let's see. It's always fun, isn't it, when you see the dye like that? Isn't that lovely? And I've got, I didn't say, but I've got, it's about a quarter full with a bit more citric acid in. No, that's sort of like a gentle grape colour at the minute. So I'm going to add in a bit more purple, I think. Because these minis I've been dyeing, they've turned out to be sort of fairly saturated colours, so I want to keep that going if I can. So same again, and let's just see how deep of a colour that is. That's better, isn't it? So I'm going to put the minis in there and just see what colour it comes out. We can always add a bit more purple if we want it to be stronger. So make sure it's nice and stirred through. Let's grab our minis. And let's see what colour this looks like. That's quite gentle at the moment, but let's get it in. Oh, it's a lovely colour actually, gosh. It's a very pretty, soft, purpley colour. That is very lovely. But I think we want it a bit darker than that, don't we? That's quite a gentle colour, but gorgeous. Look at that. It's really pretty. I did not realise it would dye to that shade of pretty lilac-y, sort of like a lavender, isn't it? It's really lovely. So let's put in a bit more. Now that I know the strength of colour, let's put in probably about the same strength as it was when I put the yarn in. And let's just see if we can get it a bit richer. Let's have a look at that now, shall we? And see what we think. Ooh. It now reminds me a bit of sort of blueberries a little bit. But you know what? I think I want to go just a little bit darker still. So, a bit more. And if you wanted to have a full skein of this, you would know then roughly how much dye you need to put in to get the sort of colour that you want. It's a good way of testing what shades you can get out of one dye colour. That's lovely. That is more like I wanted. That is now a true sort of blueberry colour, isn't it? Now the question is, do we leave it as purple Or do we risk it and put in a little bit of orange to try and make it a bit sort of burnt sienna-ish? Let's go for it. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in the tiniest bit of the fluorescent orange. I don't think we can really wreck anything by just putting in that tiniest bit. Let's stick that back in and see if it has any effect. We might not be able to notice anything really because I didn't put a lot in, but it's a good way of judging what might happen and how it might change. Now that definitely has changed it. I like it, what it's done to it. It's made it a bit more moody, which I think is a good thing. I'm going to leave it at that actually, because I don't want to over egg the pudding. You know, I don't want to end up just with brown yarn, because that can happen if you add in too much colour. But that has definitely made it a bit more kind of spooky looking, if you know what I mean. It's just mooded it up a little. So that's lovely. I'm going to leave it now at that. Just bring up the temperature a little bit. Let that have a simmer away for 10 minutes and then I will pop it outside to cool down with our main colour. So that's our yarn all dry and ready to be knitted. So it's time now to get it skeined up and get that yarn on our needles. So here we go. It's all dry and just beautiful, I've got to say. And the mini, I think, is just perfect. But this yarn, oh, I just absolutely love it. This is going to be another one, isn't it, where I say I want a full pair of socks in this. But truly, I really do, because you absolutely get those dark points with the where we laid down the brown and the purple, but then you do get purple showing through here by itself and a bit of pink, and then we've got those different shades of orange. We've got the, you know, just the pure orange that we put on, and then the one we created with the fuchsia and the yellow, and then lots of yellow. Oh, it's just lovely, and I absolutely can't wait to start knitting with this. And then the purple, I think, is absolutely perfect. It just goes so well. And what I'll do is, when we're just before we start to knit, I'll get out the other 3 minis and I'll put this one with it, and we'll just see how we're doing with the mini parade and see what it looks like. But I guess if I was going to give this one a name, the mini, it's sort of like Moody Blueberry to me, if that's such a thing, because adding that just that touch of orange, although you don't see it at all in it, it definitely changed the colour, and it definitely gave it that little bit of, like, it just knocked back the brightness of the purple and gave it that moody edge. So yeah, Moody Blueberry is what I would call this. So let's stop talking about the beauty of the yarn and get winding it, because otherwise we can't knit it, can we? Oh, it's lovely. And there it is, all unfurled. And once again, I'm just checking inside and outside, and it's really good. You know, we've got a good distribution of colour on the inside and the outside. Just lovely. So I can see my tie is here on the inside, so I'm just going to turn it the other way just so that I can access that, so that when it pulls, it's pulling from the right side. So let's get it on the Swift and get winding. have, when you sort of get it on there, you'll find that there's one strand that comes from the outside and then there's one that'll be on the inside, and you want to have it pull in from the outside. That one is. So let's get winding. Okay, do you know what? That went really well, and it didn't slip or anything. Oh, that's the best skein I've wound on here in a long time. And I went quite slow. I don't know if you saw that. I was going quite slow, and I think that might be the key to this temperamental ball winder. Just go slow, because that's just come out perfectly. And my goodness, what a colour this is. Oh, it's absolutely fantastic, I've got to say. I completely love it, and I really, really feel like I desperately want to cast on a full pair of socks with this, and I might just have to, so watch that space. It's just lovely. Okay, ranting over about the prettiness of the yarn, because we've got our yarn wound up now, so we need to get to the knitting. Okay, so here we go. And now before we start on the knitting, I just want to show you how lovely this mini goes with the other three. It's like alchemy going on. I don't quite know how this is happening, but I just think, don't they look lovely? And isn't this one kind of like a lighter shade of this one? Even though it's not the same colours, I think, you know, gosh, it could be, if you know what I mean, but that's the 4 in sequence. And I just think they're absolutely lovely. So that's working out brilliantly. Okay, so here we go with our socks now. So here's my 2 socks where we are right now. I've just finished the little short leg on these. Now, here's my yarn. But what I need to talk to you about is the heel, because I had a bit of a realisation about something. Now, I was intending to do my butterfly heel. Now, the thing is that I realised with the butterfly heel, what you have to do initially is you have to, first of all, you just knit across your instep, and then the heel is worked on the back. What I realised is that in order to do that, and what I did the last time I knitted scrappy socks like this, using a butterfly heel, is you need what effectively would be for me the 5th yarn, because you'd need to knit across the instep in the next colour that's coming down here. The reason I'm not going to do that is because I didn't want people to have to find another yarn when you don't know what my next yarn's going to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going back to my origins of sock knitting, and I'm going to do a heel flap and a turn. That is the heel that I will have knit the most, and therefore it fits in perfectly with doing it for my perfect socks. And actually that's a good thing, really, because it allows me to show you just exactly how I do that. Not the full pattern, you know, I'm not going to show you row by row, but I'll just show you the sort of mechanics of how I place the heel. So here we go with our sock, and we've cut obviously the last yarn because we're doing these scrappy socks. Now, if I was doing a contrast heel and turn just on a sort of normal pair of socks, then this yarn wouldn't be cut. It would be left attached. Because the way that I knit a heel flap and a turn, a contrast one, is that you don't have to cut your main colour yarn. But for this instance, obviously we've done that because we're doing scrappy socks. So where I change the yarns when I'm doing scrappy socks using a heel and turn is actually different to if it wasn't scrappy socks. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to knit the heel and the turn, and then when I've completed the turn, I'll cut this yarn. So just so you know exactly what it is I'm going to be doing. And then when we come to the next colour, the first thing that I will be doing is picking up the gusset stitches with the new yarn. So let's get started then with our heel. I always work my heel flaps on the back half of my stitches. Now I know that some people would knit across these stitches and then turn and start the heel on a knit row. I don't do that. I always start my heel turns on a purl row. It means that I can leave this yarn attached right here and it just works perfectly for a contrast heel. So what we do, let's pull out our yarn. We finally now get to knit this beautiful yarn, don't we? So I'm going to pull out my front needle and I'm going to start knitting on my back needle so that I'm starting on the wrong side. So pull out the front. And if you were working on double points, then you would just be working on, you know, the back half of the stitches, just the same really. Here we go. So we're going to start knitting on these back stitches here. So what I do is slip the first stitch and then we're just going to purl to the end. So it's at this point I attach my yarn, leave a tail to weave in and just loop it over and then start purling. Make sure you grab the working yarn there. So we're just going to purl across. And then on the knit side, we're just going to do slip knit all the way across. So it's a very standard heel flap that will be familiar to lots of you out there. And the length of heel flap, again, in my patterns, I always write it as a certain amount of rows depending on the size. But it is adjustable. You know, you can adjust the length of your heel flap. If you've got a really high arch or really big instep or whatever, then you can adjust the number of rows that you do for your heel flap. And that will mean that you've got more room across your instep. So I'm going to do what I would normally do in a pattern, which is 32 rows or 16 repeats. But like I say, you can add more rows to that if you've got a really high instep. And it would just mean you're picking up more stitches along your gusset and decreasing more stitches, but that's not a problem. So we're on the knit side now. So I'm just working across this row. We're doing slip knit all the way across. And then we're just going to repeat that. Oh, now you see, I can't knit and slip at the same time. Now those stitches at the end there are really loose. You can see that because we've got tails there, but you can just snug them up. And then I tend to snug them up again once I've worked a few stitches back on this purl row. And then that tightens everything up. So then you would turn and you would carry on. So you're now on a purl side. I will tuck my tails down inside so they don't get in the way. And then you are away knitting your heel flap, just working that 2-row repeat. So I would do that for 32 rows in my case because this is a 64 stitch sock. But whatever you normally do, whatever is your favourite way of working a heel, you know, that's what you should be doing. It might be that a heel flap and turn is not your favourite. You might want to do a short row heel. You know, whatever you want to do, it's entirely up to you. So what I will be doing is I'll be doing the flap and then I'll be working a turn. So you should work whatever heel is your favourite and whatever turn is your favourite. So yeah, I'm just going to now carry on. I'll work the heel flap, I'll work the turn, and then I'm going to cut my yarn after I've completed the turn. And I'll work this on both of my socks. So there we go, we are off and running with our heel flap. And oh, I'm already loving the yarn. I'm seeing actually this sort of a peachy tone in there as well somewhere, and that must be coming from the sort of softer tones when we did the pink and the yellow on top, and it must have blended out, and there must be areas where it's slightly peach toned. Oh, what a joy. It's just lovely. You know, the question is, how long can I resist not casting a full pair of socks on with this? We shall see. My heel flap and my turn will get done on both of my socks. And then when we do the next one, it's at that point that I'll then be picking up the gusset stitches and then continuing on down the foot, you know, doing the decreases and what have you. So get knitting your perfect socks, everybody, and I will see you back next time. Who knows what the colourway is going to be? I've got an idea of the next one that I'm going to choose. But yeah, I'm just going to see how this one knits up first. So thank you everybody, and I will see you next time for more of my perfect socks.
Just wonderful, gorgeous contrast yarn. First time ever you've shown yourself knitting heels on the show, which is very exciting.
Wow.
Of course, you've done lots of tutorials before for patrons, but never actually on the show, so shared a bit of knowledge
live
there, which is fun.
knitting.
Yes. And then here is the gorgeous yarn.
Yeah, so here it is, look. Oh, look at that. Isn't it fun? Really pretty. With all of those, you know, oranges that come through, different shades of orange. We've got more of a sort of bright orange with that neon, but then it does soften down to a more golden orange. The browns, a hint of purple, tiny specks of pink. It's beautiful.
And here's the heels.
And here are the heels. I've got 2 heels. Looks a bit bizarre because this is such a short sock. It'll all make sense, won't it, when we pick up the stitches?
Yes.
So here I'll just hold one. Can't do 2. So here's the heel. There is that other one as well. And it just knit up so lovely. So pretty. So we're all ready now to pick up those stitches with the next colour and get knitting the next stripe. And I'll be doing some decreases, some gusset decreases as well. Very
Wonderful
exciting,
stuff.
yeah.
And then the contrasting yarn. Is this the collection?
This is all 4 now.
Wow.
Yeah, so this was that purpley shade that it came out. Isn't it pretty? Really lovely. So these are all 4 together. Don't they look nice? What sounded like?
Bruce.
Yeah, didn't he do well? Yeah. I think they're just, I can't apparently hold 4 minis. But they just look really lovely together, don't they? So I feel like I'm going to have to do something with these when I've got all 12. That'll be super fun, won't it? It's an extra little bonus. And I do have 2 of these, and I haven't used the other ones yet either.
So that is, I say with great trepidation, the final consecutive episode.
That's right.
Of My Perfect Socks.
Yes.
Kay's having a little party.
I'm having a little break.
Because next time, we know so many of you have been looking forward to this, and my goodness, we hope it comes out perfectly.
You sounded Canadian then.
Because...
You said oot.
Because next time, this year's big historical adventure series launches. Yes, it's time for Britain, the stately era.
Yes.
It is with great trepidation that I say this, because we're filming this in a different way to what we've ever done before. It's going to enable us to produce something with a much more sweeping narrative and story. It's the way that a BBC or a HBO or a documentary would be filmed. So we're sort of taking a really big leap and taking another step in that sort of completely professional filming process. In fact, I don't know what other steps we could take now.
No,
this is the moment where
I don't think so.
we physically are now as professional as we can possibly get. So it's going to be unlike any other series, to be honest, because we've never been able to film in this way before. This is the first time that we have. We've got lots and lots of new equipment. It's one of the reasons why I mentioned being a patron before. Please do help us keep making shows, because we've never needed you more than we do now.
Yeah.
But yes, next time it's time for Britain, the stately
Very
era.
exciting.
Yes. And now it's time for the Endy Bits.
Endy Bits.
So the Sweetie Socks are out.
Yes.
Please come and join us in the Sweetie fun.
Yes.
Grab yourself a cola cube,
Oh, yes.
a cast on the socks.
Cola bottle.
And
Anything cola themed is good, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I like the beer ones.
No, I didn't really like
They
the
tasted
beer
yeasty.
bottle. It didn't taste very
Weird. Haven't you got some yarn to show?
Yes, I do.
Cool. While you're talking about that, I will say you can still come and join our Valentines event That sounds fun.
Valentines, I know.
Yes.
When I've been typing that,
It's like saying
I've been trying to
pixie
think of
yarn
another.
yarns.
I've been trying to think of another word for event because I can't say Valentines event. That just sounds weird.
It's fun to say though. Yes, so Valentine, all the parts are out now. Come and join us as Kay takes you through knitting every stage of the Love Story socks, and then Jen is here next week with a lovely Valentine review of that Jagger Spun yarn and the gorgeous book as well. And she's reviewing the present that she gave to her husband. So that's really fun. You bought some yarns.
Yes, they're both actually mystery yarns that arrived. Now these, I'm sure everybody will have seen these already. A lot of you will have got them. But I got the Freckled Whimsy Halloween Club yarn, and let me tell you, when I opened this, I was like, oh my goodness. I immediately messaged Jen and said, have you got this yarn? Oh my gosh, have you seen the colour? Because we're both...
Did she have it?
Yes, I knew that she was in the club, so I knew she'd already have it because she's in America and I've only just got this. But it was called Happy Pinkoween for February. Look at this. Oh my goodness. So we've got how many? It's a 6 striper here with pinks and an orange and then bright sort of more like a deep pink for the mini. Is that not just fantastic? Oh my goodness. So very much looking forward to knitting those. I feel like they're going to be fairground socks maybe. Beautiful. And then I also ordered the mystery sock set from 3 by the Sea. And I realised recently I was watching their podcast and she said their name by saying 3 BTS. And I was like, how cool is that? Because their initials are BTS, by the sea. Yeah. But obviously BTS. There's a blast from the past, isn't it? I think they're going to reform, Bryony tells me, because they've all been in the army doing their army service. Anyway, randomness. But I ordered
First song back is a cover of Status Quo's We're in the Army Now.
Oh, stop it. I'm excited for them to return. I miss the boys, can I just say? I miss the BTS boys.
Never go back, Kay. Never go back.
Well, no, you can't ever... You know, Bryony was, 13, 14 when she was really loving BTS idea. And... I know you can never go back. It never feels the same, does it? And they won't look the same. And, you'll never get that feeling of dynamite and all of that business. So, yeah, I ordered the mystery sock set by 3 by the Sea Designs, and it was Wicked themed. And I spoke a bit about Wicked, didn't I? I watched Wicked, and I do have views on it. But
you shared them last time.
Did I share them? Okay, I won't say it.
Let's look at the lovely yarn.
Yeah, but Bryony loves it. So I ordered it. And look what you get. Oh, look at this. So it's 2 50 grams and then 2 20 grams. This is very exciting because there's enough here for 2 pairs of socks. So you've got, look at the green. And then you've got a pink, so it's for Alphabet and Glinda. And then the minis, the sort of opposites, if you like. So you could do pink with green and green with pink. Or you could go for green and green and pink.
Or pink with green.
I said pink with green. There isn't another option, is there?
No.
Or you could stripe them.
Or pink
so
with pink.
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wind these and then I'm going to show Bryony and ask her what combination she wants. And then I'll get those cast on as well. But I love look at the green. Isn't that fabulous? I do love green. Green and pink is gorgeous. So very happy with both of those mystery yarns.
Wonderful. Look, that's it. Don't miss our next Patreon exclusive show. It's on the 23rd of February.
It's early, isn't it? This month. It's early because
crazy
February is a short month.
Yes, and it just, it's always the last Sunday in the month. It's broadcast live from 2 p.m. Then it's available for every patron to watch from 3:10 on the 23rd of February. So if you can't join us live, don't worry. But also as well, the show after that, we're changing. Can you believe it? We'll be changing to British Summertime. That's not this show. That's next Patreon-only show, March show. But then that opens it up to lots of people who are in bed when it's normally live. Yeah. But like I say, you never need to worry anyway because the show's available to watch whenever you want. So you can tune in. And actually, there's loads of back issues that you can watch as well because we've been doing that show for a long time. Yeah. But don't miss that show because we'll be talking Pembrey Cow. We'll also be talking Britain the Stately era and lots of other things as well. I can't remember exactly what, but love story socks, looking at people's, because there's tons of those that have been done. And anyway, lots of fun in the next Patreon-only show, 23rd of February, 2 p.m. or 3:10 if you're watching anytime you like.
Yeah.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it.
Yay!
Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks, everybody.
With the first episode of Britain the Stately
Have a
Era.
lovely 2 weeks.
Yes. Take care,
See
everyone.
you soon.
Bye.
Sitting and knitting, it's Dan and Kay, the bakery bears. Enthusiasm's not quitting for Dan and Kay, the bakery bears. They'll take you to fabulous places of which their favorites they'll share. You better buy a pattern and get yourself a bakery bear. You'll find yourself in a castle watching the bakery bears. It never feels like a hassle to sit and watch the bakery bears. What's on your shelf or what's in your oven, or maybe a shawl you'll want to wear. So sit yourself right down and